research suggests that in some ways our brains get better with age and that we can develop new mental strength with a midlife that includes a healthy appetite for the arts. Roberta Walker is a freelance journalist based in Ottawa who's been going to art class to test the theory. Good morning.
Good morning.
You're not so old.
No, I'm not.
Well, tell me about your art class.
Well, I'm taking a class at the Gloucester Senior Centre in Ottawa. And, I have to say I'm one of the younger ones, but it's a big class and there's quite a mix of ages. Some in their 50s, others probably well into their 70s.
And so what kind of class is it? What are you actually learning?
It's watercolor, and there's quite a lot of technique involved. It's difficult. So listen in and I'll introduce you to a bit of the class.
I think it's an achievement. It's fun. You feel good about it.
Now I'm going to paint.
Oh, I paint. I come here once a week, and at home occasionally I would do it maybe 2 or 3 times a week. And I lose track of time when I do that. The whole afternoon could go and it's gone.
Well, it sounds pretty much like what you'd expect. It's a nice pastime, something to engage the brain.
But there's more going on there than what you'd think. And that's what I found out once I discovered a man named Dr. Eugene Cohen. After talking to him, I started to listen to the comments of my fellow painters in a whole different way.
What do you mean?
Well, according to Dr. Cohen, these people are living examples of the most advanced research on brain fitness.
Brain fitness?
Yeah, just like jogging or lifting weights for your body. It turns out that artistic pursuits, particularly in older people, lead to fitter brains as well as healthier bodies. I mean, we all know some things decline with age, but Dr. Cohen was one of the first people to look at the potential of the mature brain, not just the problems.
Now, for the longest time, people thought we had all of our brain cells by the age of 3, including scientists. And so people thought, well, if you have all your brain cells by 3, it's just a matter of time before cumulative cell loss adds up and it takes its toll. Well, just before the close of the 20th century, we found that this was not true. We, in fact, continue to produce new brain cells right to the end, and the biggest factor influencing new brain cell formation, which is referred to as neurogenesis, is, again, mental stimulation. A given brain cell can sprout hundreds of dendrites. It's a phenomenal capacity of the brain, and this capacity to sprout new dendrites and make new connections with other brain cells knows no endpoint in the life cycle.
Now, you heard Dr. Cohen use the word dendrite.
I was going to ask you about that.
Well, the word dendrite comes from the Greek word for tree, and these little tree branches grow out of our neurons or brain cells. And when the dendrites of one brain cell contact the dendrite of another, they form synapses.
So the more dendrites you have, the more information flows through your brain.
That's right. As long as your brain gets a regular workout. Because when you challenge your brain with certain activities and new experiences, it sprouts new dendrites and expands your brain's communication network.
So I'm getting smarter already.
That's good, because it gets more complicated. According to Dr. Cohen, the brain is hardwired to maintain its vitality at any age, and it does that by seeking out new challenges. But the link between arts and healthy aging is rooted in the psychological growth or development of the mature brain. And these changes to brain function kick in sometime around the age of 45.
So what sort of changes are taking place?
Well, quite a few things, but one of them is the brain becomes more flexible in its functions, which the doctors call neuroplasticity. And also, it develops a hunger for creative activities like writing, singing, painting, poetry.
Really? So as we age, this happens, so we're becoming more creative as we age?
Yes, that's what Dr. Cohen concluded when he looked at the older brain from the point of view of development and potential. You know how early childhood development is carefully broken into stages. But there was little understanding of brain development in later life, because I guess people just thought there wasn't any.
Yeah.
But once Cohen identified some new developmental stages in the mature brain, he also found a capacity for positive change and creative expression. And another thing that shifts as we age is the interaction between the hemispheres. Here's Dr. Cohen.
The young adults under brain imaging were found to indeed use both sides of their brain, but for any given task, they would use one side more than the other. Certain tasks more left brain, other tasks more right brain. But those in midlife and older exhibited what I refer to as moving to all-wheel drive. They began to use both sides of their brain in a more synchronized way. And in one sense, it's a compensatory response of the brain, but in another sense, it brings new capacity. You start to use a part of the brain more that you hadn't used before. And any activity that optimally uses both sides of the brain together is like chocolate to the brain. And I feel art is one of those activities. And although people are interested in art throughout the life cycle, you see a growing interest in art with aging. And I feel this helps to explain why folk art, for example, as a field is dominated by older persons. It's one of the best illustrations of late blooming, never too late, and I feel that one of the explanations for this is this change in brain functioning, again, where art is like chocolate to the brain.
Chocolate to the brain. Interesting.
Wonderful, isn't it? It's a great analogy. But Cohen found this potential for successful aging and the link to art so inspiring that he's written 2 books on the subject, and he now refers to life after 50 as the creative age, which is a much more appealing title, let's say, than Geezer's Rock.
Absolutely. I like the creative age, too. But now, how did Dr. Cohen come to these conclusions? Did he have a massive study?
Oh, yes, he did. He had many of them. And for Dr. Cohen, this has been a lifetime of study. And he admits he came into the field at just about the right time, because for years, medicine and research really focused on the body and longevity. But Cohen's now convinced that the 21st century is the era of the mind. Now, part of this is tied to technology and the development of functional brain imaging, or MRI technology, that he referred to a moment ago. And this has revolutionized the ability of researchers to look at what the brain's really doing. But last year, Dr. Cohen's Creativity and Aging study really produced some groundbreaking discoveries. It was a big national study, Anna-Maria, with control groups in 3 American cities, and it looked at the impact of community arts programs on the health, social functioning, and health service usage by older people.
So that's why you said your art class was a living example of the latest brain research.
Exactly. Now, there's been lots of brain research and lots of research into the very successful community programs over the years, but Cohen's study was the first one to pull together the science and the evidence from the community programs to give a clear snapshot of the implications of arts programming and its impact on the health of seniors.
It was the first major study totally focused on tapping into potential, and the results of the study have been just remarkable. The people in the study had an average age of 80, and they were compared to a very, very well-matched control group, same age. And a year into the study, those in the art programs actually showed an improvement in overall health, and that just made everybody open their eyes wide.
It also landed Cohen on the cover of Time magazine.